Hello everyone, and welcome to video number 12 of our web developing PHP tutorials. In this video we're going to cover PHP includes, different ways that we can include files within other files. One thing that I haven't mentioned in the previous 11 videos on PHP is if you try to access your server from the web browser and you get a page not available, chances are you need to start up XAMPP. I didn't go into that much in the first few videos, but XAMPP needs to be started up every time you restart your computer, unless you select service here to install this as a service. But we don't want to do that. I don't want it to run all the time. I just wanted to run it when I want it to run. You may want to run it all the time, it's up to you, but I like to conserve system resources a little bit and just run it when I need it. So I'm going to start up Apache and start up MySQL again, get those going. Now if we go to our web dev folder on localhost, we get a blank page, which is what we should see now. Okay, so this video is going to cover including files within other files. So one thing that I want to do here is we're going to just echo in our index.php file, we're going to echo hello from index.php. I just want to show you how this is going to work. Save that and we'll just check it to make sure it's working. We'll go to our browser, refresh it, and we got hello from index.php. So let's go to our project navigator. If you're in a full screen editor like this, you can double click on the tab if you need to get to this. I'm sorry, if you want to get to hide this stuff automatically, you can double click on this tab and it'll hide that. So that's just a trick to conserve room on your editor. In this source file folder here, let's right click on that and click new PHP file, and we're just going to call this header.php and just finish that. And this is just a plain another PHP file, and we're going to say echo hello from header. Say hello from header. Okay, and save that. Now let's say that we wanted to bring in this file into our index.php. We want to include everything that's inside of this file. So let's just include it here at the top of the body, let's say, or start another PHP tag, and we're going to say include, type include, and we're going to include the header.php. Actually, let's put that in quotes, header.php, and we'll close that. Now if we save that, we forgot to put a line break in there, but that's okay. You can see that now the contents of the header.php file are coming into this file. And what that's useful for is if you wanted to create a template, or if you need to bring in classes from a file, and we'll talk about classes later on, but if you need to bring in like a file of functions and you don't want to clutter up this one file, this one page of code with all that code that's in your functions, you can put it into a separate file and then include that in this file, and then you've got all that functionality within this page. And we'll be using these a lot, and when we get into frameworks use these includes a lot on the in the back end. They do it behind the scenes where you can't see it, but you want to be able to include files sometimes within your PHP that you're working on. Let's do something useful with it. Let's say that we wanted to have a site-wide list of links and scripts that we wanted to include on every page. Let's do a include here, and we're going to include something called, let's call it header. We'll just use that header.php. Okay, so now our header's up here. So let's go back to our header, and we can just take out the PHP completely, and we can just include HTML here if we want to. But let's say that in that header we wanted a meta tag with a name of keywords and content of keyword 1. You could put in actual site keywords here if you wanted to. So there's 2 keywords, and let's also add a script tag here. This is how you would include JavaScript into your site. You can use a script of type text JavaScript, and we'll just leave it blank. I don't really need anything script wise right now, but I might put, actually let's do an alert. And then you don't have to know what this does yet. This is JavaScript. We're not going into that just yet. So let's save that, and notice now we've got this header that's pulling in this information into the head of the HTML document. We have this include that pulls in this file. Everything that's in this file pretty much just gets stuck right here where this is at. So we save both of those, and we go to the web page and we refresh it. Now we got this alert showing up in JavaScript that says hello world, and then after we click OK, it says hello from index page. So it's showing us exactly what we want. Now there's 4 different ways you can include files. There's the include like we're using right here. Then we have one called require, and I'm going to show you that on a separate one. We'll say down here, well, let me see, let's go here. Let's require a page called extra.php. Okay, now let's save that and come back over here. We got the hello world. Now we got a warning. The require gives a warning that says that it failed to open stream, and we also have a fatal error. Since that's a require statement, since it's required, it will throw a warning. If we'd have said include here and refresh that, we still just get we get 2 warnings. We don't have an error. And the difference between those two is the require will give an error. The include will give a warning. The require gives a warning and an error. The error will cause, it's according to how you have PHP set up, but the error can cause the page to not display, or it might report errors or whatever. But if you want to throw an error if a file is not there, then you would make that require. Include will give you a warning, and if you have warnings turned off in your PHP configuration, then the users won't see those warnings, and you won't see those warnings, so you won't know exactly what's causing it. So I usually use require for these sort of things. Now there's also another thing here. Let's say that let's say we had a header here. Let's take this header out, and let's put the header in here twice. Now the reason I want to show you this is, let's take this out for just a second. Let's say it just says hello from a header, and that's just what it's supposed to be. Okay, so anyway, we have 2 of those include statements. So let's see what happens when we do that. We refresh it, and we have hello from header, so it's doing it twice. And just to make sure that you can see that that's doing it twice, let's do a break here and refresh that. So now you see it's doing it twice. Okay, include statements will include the same file over and over again, no matter what. Later on you might see where this comes in handy, because if you have a bunch of files going, or you're using a lot of files in your PHP, then if 2 of those files include the same file, then it would be included twice. But if you do a include once here, if we say include once and then include once, actually you can just leave this include and save that. It says it's still going to do that, but if we include once again, so now if you see how the first hello from header is the only one that showed, it doesn't include it again. So then we have a require once. It's not giving us an error because we've required that once, and we've already included it, so it's fine. So those are the 4 ways that you can include files. I hope that wasn't too confusing, but you can include files by using just a simple include statement or a require statement like that. And the require is going to throw an error where the include won't. It'll just throw in a warning if the file doesn't exist. Require will throw an error and can possibly stop your program from executing if you've got your settings turned up that way. And then you have the include once, which verifies that you only include a file one time. You don't include it more than once, and that's handy. So a lot of times, what you'll probably want to use most often is require once, because requires the file if you're including a file, usually you need it, so it should be a requirement. You don't just want to include it. If it's there, you want to require it so that the functionality of your web page works great. So most of the time you'll use a require once, but it's good to know those others as well. And a lot of people use all of those at any given time. There are good reasons to use each one of those, but in most cases you'll probably want to use require once. And that's all we're going to cover in this video. Later on, this stuff's going to make sense. It's going to come together, but I'm just trying to show you some of the little details that you have to know. Hopefully you're following along and you're repeating these videos and learning these little short segments of code and how these different techniques are used. In the next video, we're going to cover an introductory to MySQL. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be taking a kind of a detour away from the code, and we're going to be going into databases a little bit, and then we'll eventually start working with databases and pulling that data into our web pages. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe.